Go on.
Galim. Where are you going, Kev? Just as I got the internet to work in Cyprus. Too funny. Good evening, everyone. How about we just not even bother with the trailer tonight, seeing as I'm here and I have sound and we have liftoff. We are officially live. This is the Highbury Squad, and I am in Cyprus, and I'm still trying to figure out the internet. Kev's going to send me some quarters so I could put in the meter because he knows how that goes. We got some special guests here this evening. Of course, back for another round of Monday Madness is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to see ya. And Addies, Squaddies, Addies.
Also joining this evening is my co-host from our goalkeeper show, which, by the way, is coming back at you in a few days. I wonder why. Welcome back, one of the first ever bloggers and podcasters in the Arsenal community for those kids who have just got in the game. Mr. Michael Price from You Are My Arsenal. Welcome back to Squad Central.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, as always. I enjoy it.
Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Mike. And this lad in the bottom left may not need any introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway, aren't we, Super Kev?
Yes,
it's the beloved Mr. Lee Judges, otherwise known here at Squad Central, Gianni Judges. Welcome
Gianni,
back.
the judges.
I love that name. I love it. Like.
And of course, the Highbury Squad would not be the Highbury Squad without all of the squaddies. Good evening, squaddies. Welcome to the show. I'm going to get your comments up as I can. I've got my laptop on, I've got my phone on, so hopefully this doesn't fail me this evening. Trying to figure it out as we go along, but who cares when we have sound, we have picture, and we have you, and we could talk about the Arsenal. As you know, every Monday Madness kicks off with Super Kev's kickoff. He's going to give us a very quick summary and thought on yesterday's North London derby. And then we'll have the lads riff off that before we get into the top 5 talking points. Super Kev, over to you.
Yeah, I think it was. It turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. Obviously, taking the lead twice and not seeing it through at home was disappointing. I think the most important thing for us, why it felt probably, you mentioned it, Sophie, and I think Lee mentioned it previously, that it felt like a defeat, was the way in which we gave the goals away at home. You know, getting 1-0 up against Spurs, and then the way all our defenders around Son, and Son still gets the shot off. And then obviously second half where Jorginho just gets in a muddle. He gets robbed of the ball and they just go straight through and score. Straight after we make it 2-1 with a Saka penalty. That's the disappointing part for us. You know, we could question the manager and question the team. We didn't play as well as we would have liked. We suffered a few injuries. But let's be honest, we should have won the game. Don't care what anybody says, we should have won the game. There are positives and negatives out the game, obviously, for whatever reason. But we still have to look at it. 7 games, no losses, 5 wins, 2 draws. We've started our Champions League campaign very well. And you know what? We're suffering a bit too many injuries as a negative than we would have liked. We could always look at this one should have played and that one should have played, etc. But once the game gets going, you've just got to rely on the team to get the job done. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the job done yesterday. But I will say there's a bit of learning that has to happen for us, because transitioning from Champions League midweek to North London derby, we expect it to be effortless, and it wasn't effortless. We looked to be maybe a little bit a yard off at times than we usually are, and we have to be able to transition in that spot. So there's a little bit of learning again on the job for us to do, but again, five wins, 2 draws. Don't like Spurs getting a point off us at any stage, but considering we didn't play well, we just got to move on.
Is Super Kev being a bit polite, Michael? I'm going to swing to you first.
No, this is why I get along with Kevin, because I think it's a for lack of look, we're all supporters. We all wear our hearts on our sleeves, but you also have to look at it from a practical approach. I do think that last season spoiled us because nobody thought last season was going to happen, and nobody had it predicted. And here we suddenly are fighting for the season for 253 days or whatever that turned out to be. So I think we head into this season with higher expectations, expect things to pick up right where they are, even though we've added significantly new players to the lineup. Arteta still was tinkering with the lineup based off of missing people early in the season. I still think that there is learning and growing for this team to do. It doesn't mean you can't be disappointed by yesterday's result, because frankly, I thought Tottenham were there for the taking. I don't think it was by any. This is the great thing. I guess maybe this is a positive to take. We played, if I can say it, like crap for the most better part. We didn't control the game, but we could have still come out of that game winning the game. And the Big Ange, or whatever they call him over there, literally played into our hands with his subs later in the game. And that game was still there for the taking. So I don't think looking at this game practical is a bad way to look at it. With, we're still in the very early of the season, and it feels like we're still growing into this season rather than like we did last season. We came out like gangbusters. We started the sprint and tired out. Maybe the reverse will happen for us this year. Maybe we're going to grow into the season and we're going to hit our stride when we need to towards the later part of the season.
Lee, swinging it your way now. You and I have been talking a fair bit today on the old WhatsApp, and I think we're very similarly aligned in our thinking. It was a disappointing performance. I was just talking to the guys on BBC Radio London, and Holly, the Spurs podcaster, delighted with their team's performance, and I think they should be. They do deserve credit for the way they played. Let's start at the very tippy top of the NLD mountain, Lee. The starting lineup for me, and then give us your overall thoughts before we get stuck into some goalkeeper, Havertz, Nketiah, Reece Nelson, etc. issues.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm always nervous for a North London derby, always have. But when I see the team lineup, deflated. I'm going to be honest, I was deflated by it. Obviously, we didn't know that Trossard was going to be injured. It's bad enough losing Martinelli, then lose Trossard. And then I just hoped and prayed when I see the team sheet that it was going to be Eddie out on the left and Jesus down the middle. And it wasn't. And I come away from the Emirates on Wednesday night bullish, with a fantastic performance from our front four. The only time that I have done this season, and that was because Jesus was playing down the middle and he makes everything click. I don't care what anybody says. Forget about the goals, forget about his miss. He makes other players play as well, He brings other players into play. We go through him and it makes us a more fluent side, if I'll be honest. I watching that game yesterday, I don't really remember us making too many chances. A couple in the first half. I think their goalkeeper made a great save in the first half. Jesus should have scored to make it 2-0. That was from a Maddison mistake. I think also Eddie had a chance when their fullback played it back short. But we didn't create as much as what we have done in the past. And I was disappointed with that, I was disappointed with it. And I'm going to be really honest, I'm sitting here today and I'm thinking, right, okay, you're ruthless. Let's talk about fairness of players and things like that. We'll get on to the Raya and Ramsdale thing in a moment and the goalkeeping situation. But you've got two wide left players that are not playing at this moment in time. And you can sit there, and if you're Smith Rowe and Nelson, you can sit there and go, do you know what? Martinelli's playing in front of me. Yeah, I get that. He's better than me. I get that. Then he gets injured. Trossard comes in. He's got, I can see why he's in the team. I can get it. Then he gets injured. One of them must have been turning right and going, right, this is my turn to shine. This is my opportunity now. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to put Jesus out there. and we're going to put Eddie in at the middle. Now, if you cannot get into the wide left position when the third man down, I don't understand it. And then what I will say to that is when people go, well, you know, obviously he thinks Jesus is better than Nelson out there. Fine. So why are you giving him another 2-year, 3-year contract if you don't think he's good enough to be third choice in there? Smith Rowe, who's played wide left for us on many of occasions, doesn't play in it there, like, you know. And I'm just looking at it now and I'm going like, it's so unfair. It's so unfair when I'm seeing another player being treated like poorly, and I'm seeing other players being given passes. And
so has Eddie let us down then, Lee?
Well, I don't think he's let us down, realistically.
So what about him being treated fairly then?
Right, well, I'll answer you that. Like, did he play really that well against Everton? No. Did he score against Everton?
He done all right. All I'm saying is, you're talking about fairness. Eddie's played, he's scored, he's made a difference in our first team. The others haven't.
Right, okay, I'll go along with that lot. But then I'm saying, right, so he gets another chance at the expense of other players. Fair enough. I'm not having a go at Eddie when I say this.
No, I know. I'm just saying, you talk about fairness.
But has Eddie done okay? He's done okay. So has Aaron Ramsdale done okay. But he's been dropped. He's been left out. And I'm looking at it and going, well, it's not happening down the other end of the field. Now, ruthless in the summer, Kev, right? And I'm going to be really honest, ruthless to say, do you know what? We're bringing in another goalkeeper for Eddie. Why aren't we not bringing in another centre forward, which we know is going to bang in 20, 25 goals? And I'm telling you that now, if Jesus goes out wide left and you're bringing in an Ivan Toney or someone like that, I know you can't buy Ivan Toney in the summer, so it's probably a poor excuse. Then you can accept it a little bit, like, you know. And I just feel like, you know, Havertz is another one not playing really that well at this moment in time. Jorginho, by the way, is another one I'll have another little moan about, like, you know. I thought was sensational at the end of last season. Hasn't been given a look in. Comes in the North London derby with about 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of football. And everybody expects him to be like sharp as a razor in a game.
Lee, please.
I'm serious.
He's an experienced player. He comes on the pitch. Jorginho, the one thing that Jorginho usually has is the experience and the ability to get the ball down and pass it.
I agree, but like when it's a North London derby, Kev, you played in them, like it's about another 100 miles quicker.
Lee, but you can't. No, he had the opportunity to pass it. He made the wrong decision.
Hold
on. Let me finish. That's got nothing to do with the amount of football he's played. He's made a bad decision.
Right, okay. I hold my hands up to that one then. Like,
why does he come out at the end of the game? Let me just jump in here real quick, because I tend to agree with Lee in the sense of it goes back to even when Pepe got sent off and got ostracised, and when Xhaka got sent off, he got a pat on the butt on the way into the tunnel. Jorginho makes a massive mistake yesterday, and Arteta comes out and says, I love him. Football's about mistakes.
Because the reality is this, is Arteta looks at players. So as supporters, we get a very limited view of our players. We see them for 90 minutes each match. The manager has a frame of reference that goes not so. Let's use the Pepe example. One of the reasons why Pepe was never really used by Arteta is because of his work ethic in training. That's been known, right? The reason why he likes Jorginho so much is because of what Kevin said, his professionalism, his experience, but also most likely down to what he's seeing in the training environment as well. Right? The work ethic within the training, and that's why he plays. Let's pick on ESR for a second, because there were stories coming out throughout the summer that the reason why, yes, they were managing that significant injury he had, but there were also stories coming out from people that tend to know these things that there was an issue with his attitude this summer, which is why he's not playing. And Arteta's shown himself to stick with players that give him everything he wants, both in training and on the field, rather than those who are giving him something just in the field. And players are going to have favorites. They're going to call it a free but I really think it comes down to what he sees as in the total picture of a player. Okay, and that's why he makes some decisions that look. I don't agree with Eddie up top. Eddie has been fine for us, but in a game where we knew we were going to have space to operate, I don't think his back play to the back four is what we needed. What we needed is Jesus running off the shoulder, blind spot, opening up. Maybe even if you're going to play Jesus out wide and you're going to play Vieira, then maybe put Havertz up top, because Havertz's blindside runs are better than Eddie's in that center forward position. That's what we needed. We needed to put more pressure on the back line when we had the ball, and that wasn't there. That wasn't there last night, and it wasn't there because we didn't have a center forward who's that's their skill set at that time.
Okay, so Lee, I'm going to just swing it back to you real quick here because, I understand what you're saying, Mike, about in training and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that Aaron Ramsdale is not bad in training. So, and Kev and Lee, one for you guys both together, because I mentioned this on the show that I was on yesterday with Tom. We're not forgiving of goalkeepers who make mistakes, but yet our forward line have scoffed. And Kev, you've said it over and over. How many chances have we missed since last season? How many? And how many times has Ramsdale saved us? Yes, I understand that the mistake at Southampton has left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And rightly so. It was a horrendous mistake. But Saka missed a penalty at West Ham last season. The pass for the Liverpool game that would have made it 3-2, we would have won that. Ramsdale makes double saves at Liverpool. So I'd like to understand, I understand football and a goalkeeper's position is very different to a forward line, but why can't we apply the same energy? Super Kev, and then Lee, riff off Kev here.
I've said it once and I'm going to say it again. I said it at the start of the season. If we are going to get serious about Arsenal being a challenger, being in Champions Leagues, etc., there has to be a ruthlessness about this squad. The bottom line is, doesn't matter what you think, Soph, you think Lee, you think Mike, I think, it matters. All that matters is what the management and his staff think. And there are going to be times where you feel disappointed that somebody didn't get a game, or, there's two goalkeepers there and the manager picks a player. That's just life. That is life at a big club. Big club. You want Arsenal to be big club? This is big club mentality. We better get used to it, because it ain't going to get any better, so to speak. This is how it is. We've discussed Eddie and Nketiah. I think you, Lee, me and you and Sophie have discussed Eddie. We don't think he can't carry Arsenal throughout a season. But I would like to think that Arsenal, the reason why Arsenal never went for a striker is because they can't get the striker they want until January, possibly. That's the only thing I could think of, because that's the only spot where you say, that's where we lack. Really, that is where we lack. When you look at it right now, if Jesus don't play there, Eddie plays there. Eddie's decent, but he's not the one who's going to take us to a title, or he's not one who is going to be that finisher, that killer. He's not that guy. But the manager will pick who he sees fit, and he will have favourites. Experience. I've told you the stories about George Graham. George Graham had favourites. But what do you do as a player? You've got to get on with it. There's no time for feeling sorry for yourself. ESR could feel hard done by. Of course he could. Many other players could feel hard done by. The bottom line is, when you get your chance, you've got to get on there and take it. That's the bottom line. That is it.
Lee?
Listen, it's hard not to agree with what Kevin's saying here, because he knows that he's been in the dressing room, and I respect his opinion. But fans do have an opinion. Fans have got like a subject.
Fans have got connection, haven't they?
Yeah. And if things start going wrong, then the pressure will come from the fans as well as other areas. Like, you know, I look at it and I go like this, right? In the summer, if I said to you, I said to myself, I'm thinking to myself, what do we need to really go on and improve? Well, we need to improve the centre forward spot. And I take that on board, what Kevin says, that maybe you can't get the person that you want now, right? Okay, right? So that means in January, right, you go and get that and be ruthless, like, you know. And if you don't, there's going to be questions asked now because you've gone and done it with a goalkeeper that I don't think was necessary. That's my opinion. And I'm not because I've met Aaron Ramsdale, get all that crap and everything like that, and I know his dad and that's crap, right? I'm talking about it, what I say. People turn around and try and justify Raya's inclusion because he made a great save the other day. Fantastic save the other day, like, yeah. His kicking weren't great and everything like that, and I felt he was partly at fault for the first goal as well. Immaterial, don't matter, like, you know. But when I'm walking out or coming out of the game against Anfield, there's not one person in that crowd and on the things was turning around to me and saying, we need a good new goalkeeper. We need a new goalkeeper after his performance at Liverpool, right? But they are turning around and going, we know we need a new striker. And it still hasn't happened. And it's ruthless to Aaron, and I get that. I get that. You know what I mean? If that's how it is, I've got not a problem with it. Be ruthless, but be ruthless in other areas as well.
Lee, you mentioned Liverpool, and you are right. You are right. But I was pitch side for the Southampton game. And obviously the mistake Aaron made was a glaring one so early. So if you're a manager, and I'll ask you this, if you're a manager, you've got to look at, okay, we've performed so well, but you've probably got to look at where did we drop points? And you look at, it's only little things, Lee, because the season wasn't perfect, but it was as good as we've had in the Premier League for a long time. So you're going to look at the little things, aren't you?
I get that, right? But Southampton was how long ago?
No, but Liverpool was how long ago? Liverpool was longer than
that's what I'm saying. So the start of the season.
Yeah, but apply the same logic.
And the start of the season.
That's what I mean. So apply the same logic. If you're going to say about Aaron Ramsdale being unbelievable, you've still then got to look at Southampton and say, hold your hand up. Yeah, he messed up.
But apply the same logic to other players who are making mistakes and how you deal and treat with those. I just want to bring Michael in here real quick because the goalkeeping issue is now an issue. The reason the show for today is titled, Has Mikel Arteta Created an Unnecessary Chaos? Michael, you and I do our goalkeeper show. We haven't done one so far this season, but we will be in the coming days. And fans who don't want us to talk about this, I don't care. I love you guys dearly, but it is a conversation and it is a topic. And it's a big one for our team. Aaron Ramsdale is a big character in that dressing room. He's a massive character for the team. And no matter whether you like it or not, over the last 2 years, he has become a favourite. He's been part of the culture shift at our club, that player DNA and profile that we've all been wanting so desperately. Players to fall in love with again. He's made mistakes, yes. But I understand Mikel's thing where he, in a press conference, he said, why, if I choose Jesus over Nketiah, you know, what's that about? Why is it such a big issue with the goalkeeper? Well, because Jesus has had injuries, he's been managed back differently, and the situation with the goalkeeper, I think, is very different. Michael, what is your take? You coach goalkeepers in the US at different levels, college too. Talk us through what you think is going on here.
Well, first of all, I was never in favor of swapping out the goal. I don't think Ramsdale did anything this season that warranted him being replaced by Raya. Now, something I've been talking to a few people about is I go to a comment that Pep Guardiola made last season where they asked him about the next evolution in the game. What's next? And obviously Pep's probably one of the guys. And he said, it's us starting to think of goalkeepers much just like an 11th field player. So I take that, plus I take Arteta's comment that says, why can't you rotate goalkeepers based on tactical and opponent situations? Now, the reality is I think Arteta was looking to see what he could do to change our fortunes in the goals conceded at home metric that we've been having. Let's just be honest. Out of the 13 clean sheets we had last season, 12 of them were on the road. Only one of them was at home. So I think he made the switch based off of that. I don't necessarily think Ramsdale did anything significant that would make me go, you need to change the goalkeeper. People point to the goal that we gave up against Fulham, the first goal, and I will defend Ramsdale all day long on that goal. And we'll probably go into that in deeper. So I don't know that there's a big need to change. And I agree with you, Sophie. This was a guy who was he's a big presence within the squad, a big presence within there. But at the same time, you had Turner, who was looking to get out of Arsenal because he wanted time. He needed more time he wants more playing time to solidify his U.S. men's national team spot. That's why he looked to leave. He was leaving. The word was out probably through intermediaries that Ray was looking to get out. I get it. Arsenal Arteta wants competitive tension across every position on the field. And Ramsdale's best season was when he had Leno backing him up. A more competitive goalkeeper backing him up pushed Ramsdale to be our best goalkeeper. So I thought Raya is here. Raya's going to push Ramsdale, and Ramsdale's going to perform because he knows he's being pushed, right? I'll be honest with you, I was not terribly impressed with Raya yesterday. The first goal, I felt that the play comes down our left, he plays to the near post. But what happens is he steps out beyond the near post. So now he's got to follow that cross back, but because he's so far pushed forward, he can't get back in time for Son's eventual shot. And on the second goal, it's a good shot by Son, but I don't think Raya has his feet set. So I think he could have done more on both goals. I thought his distribution decisions were poor yesterday. But my overall take is that the goals conceded at home aren't technically a goalkeeper issue. I think it's a more lackadaisical. I think we're at home. We feel like we can relax because we've got the fans on our side, and we don't take care of the ball as well as we do. But goalkeeping-wise, I wouldn't have made the change to Ramsdale. I don't think he deserved it. But a manager's job is to take a look at it and say, we're conceding goals at home. I have to change something up to try and fix that. And I think that's why he did it.
Okay. I just want to say one thing. Listen, for all of you guys who say, why are we obsessed? I'm coming to you, Lee. Why are we obsessed with talking about the goalkeeper thing? Why are you all obsessed telling us to not talk about it? Please, just put a pin in it. Go on, Lee.
No, just thinking back, like, I mean, and Kev will know about this as well, like, he's in 1990-91 season, we had John Lukic in goal, and he was doing a fantastic job for Arsenal. We'd won the league in 89, and George Graham signed David Seaman. And there was a hoo-ha about that. And it proved to be the right decision, by the way, but there was a lot of Arsenal fans weren't quite happy about it because John Lukic was a fan's favourite. And also, I think you have to realise, and while we're talking about Ramsdale, because we're not really talking about Jorginho being dropped at this moment in time for Declan Rice or other players being dropped, left out and whatever. The reason we're talking about Aaron Ramsdale, and he's a fan's favourite. You know what I mean? Like there's been times through the years, Charlie Nicholas was a fan's favourite, right?
Good point.
And got dropped. And I hated George Graham for 6 months for it. I hated him for a lot more than that until he actually won the league in 89. I forgive him. What I'm saying now with the Aaron Ramsdale one is a little bit different with it because it's not been done at the beginning of the season. If it had been done, if Raya comes in the first game of the season, Raya's in, what I felt it was always going to happen. This was going to happen. This was always going to happen. And what I'm worried is it's affecting our season. It's affecting the way it is. It's affecting me as a fan at the moment, you might think I'm silly on this, like, you know what I mean? I like to see fairness in everything that Arsenal do and all that. Like, and I get that Kevin will tell you, sometimes life's not fair, and in football it's not fair. But that's how I feel about it. Like, and at this moment in time, I do like Aaron Ramsdale. He is a fan's favourite of mine. And what I want to see is, if he is going to be dropped and left out, I want to see okay. So when Raya comes in, he plays like David Seaman did. You know what I mean? I didn't see anything Raya done yesterday, and I'm not a goalkeeper, so I'll take Michael's view much more. But I didn't see nothing on there with Ramsdale, and that's what I'm doing at the minute. So if I'm looking at it and going, well, Ramsdale can do that. Ramsdale's, has made fantastic saves.
Right.
I'm thinking, right, well, there was one time he kicked it straight out yesterday, and I said, well, Ramsdale's done that. It's affecting my viewing of Arsenal at this moment in time, because I don't think it's right. And after 3 games, and I get what Kevin's saying about Southampton, totally get it, right? But he's had why playing for those 3 games and then drop him for a performance I don't think was Man United his last performance. We won 3-1. Was it Man United his last performance?
Yeah,
Man U, yeah.
We win 3-1. You could maybe you could turn around and say, yeah, he got an hand to Rashford's shot.
Rashford's shot, yeah.
Maybe he could have done better with that. I don't know. Like, then he goes and plays a good game for England. I'm then expecting him to play against Everton. Right? He doesn't play against Everton. Me and Kevin, we met up afterwards, and I'm saying, like, well, he's going to play against
PSV.
Tottenham.
PSV in the
PSV,
he doesn't play in that. And then my argument is, then if he doesn't play in that, if whoever plays against Spurs, it plays. And the thing is with Raya is, in those 2 games that he played, he hadn't had no pressure on him. That's the first time some teams come at him like on Sunday, and he fouled. He fouled. You know what I mean? Like, because he wasn't exemplary.
Yeah, he definitely lingered on the ball. The one thing, the distribution yesterday, and that was the reason why people were saying why he was brought in over Ramsdale. But yesterday he lingered on the ball far too long, and he was lucky a couple times to get that ball off his feet.
He was one of them.
That worried me. There were a couple times when he's looking to play out of the back, and that's fine, but he's holding onto the ball too long. And his passing accuracy, I think, was 65%. That's atrocious for a goalkeeper at this level.
Super Kev,
just before coming, 2 things I need to say on this, right? 2 things I need to say before I let someone else go on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people, I think someone just said in the chat, why did Raya foul? Right? One of the reasons he's been left out is because we don't keep clean sheets at home. So they're going, right, that's one of the reasons. We need to keep clean sheets. That's why it's not happening, like, you know. But we look still as vulnerable defensively with Raya in goal as we have done Ramsdale. So I don't think the goalkeeper is the problem. The second thing that I've got, and this is the problem that I've got with it, because I feel sorry for Aaron. Aaron Ramsdale yesterday sees that save from Raya, which is a fantastic save, right? He claps, right? And he's ridiculed for it, like, you know what I mean? Kai cannot win if he sits there like that with the ump, people go, oh, look, he's got the ump and all that. If he goes like that and claps, whatever he does, he cannot win now. And that is a situation that's been put in by the manager unnecessarily, in my opinion. That is my opinion.
Yeah.
So hence my question is, has Mikel Arteta created unnecessary chaos?
No, no. Come on, unnecessary chaos. Listen.
You got Jamie.
No, hold on.
Piss.
Mikel Arteta doesn't control what Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville or what the Sky does. The commentators do. They have a different agenda. Than what's going on at Arsenal Football Club. Mikel Arteta's job is to create an environment of quality players that he can pick. He wants 2 players every position. We all know that. That's what all the top teams want, is 2 players per position. Now, if he doesn't do that, all of a sudden we say we've got a lack of strength in depth. This is madness, people. Stop it. He's not creating any chaos. He is trying to win a league. He's trying to win.
But hold on a second. Hold on a second. Why, Jack London? Goodbye. Why do fans have an issue talking about Mikel Arteta? This guy is. Lee and I have actually jumped on the Arteta train. We've been so supportive. Okay, we've backed the manager, and the minute when we lose or we play poorly, we cannot criticize him. What is all of your problems? You're going to make me mad. I haven't been mad on this show for a long time, but it is called Monday Madness.
Look, I don't know that maybe chaos is but he has created a bit of a headache for himself and how he's going to handle the goalkeeper situation. Because if he made the decision to replace Ramsdale because of goals at home, or to change the dynamic, he hasn't really changed the dynamic. So if you go based solely off of performance, then you would think that he would switch back to Ramsdale. It's a bit of a headache. He puts himself into a bit of a situation here in handling that. And I don't know how he handles that, but that's why he's the manager. And
that's what the managers always say, don't they?
Right.
Managers say, this is the headache that they want.
Right.
And he has quite the headache. Massive shout out to my brother in Brisbane, Georgie George. He's been with us from the very, very beginning. And yeah, he spent a lot of money, and there's a lot of pressure for him to get results and perform. Let's switch gears a little bit here, because one of the things I didn't like, and let me know what you guys think, is I knew that the Saka dart celebration, switching gears just for you, everyone in chat, I knew the dart celebration would come back to bite Saka in the arse. Super Kev, I'm going to start with you on this one. Was that a bit premature, doing the old on an own goal?
No, but what's wrong with it? Hey, by the way, James Maddison, I done the dart celebration years ago. So I don't want James Maddison thinking he's the first one to do a dart celebration.
No, it's not about being the first, Kev.
No, but what I'm saying is, why can't Saka do it? What's wrong with him doing it? He done the same thing that Rashford done, didn't he? When Rashford scored at,
why he
at
keeps
the Emirates
copying
last
everyone.
season. Yeah, so again, listen, this is James Maddison being a bit chippy, and it's to a mate. It's all right. It's no big deal. But if anybody's got a problem with it, Saka, keep doing it.
Okay,
because,
so
it's just more darts at Arsenal, isn't it? Because Arsenal were doing it.
It's not the case of him not being able to do the celebration. He could do whatever celebration he wants. It's the fact that I want Saka to be his own man. I want him to be original. I don't want him copying Thierry Henry's thing. It's done now. I don't want him copying Rashford. It's not about copying. He's just trying to send a message. And I just don't think he's there yet to be doing that kind of stuff. Lee, am I speaking out of turn?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I do understand what you're saying and all that. But listen, back in Kevin's day, Ian Wright was doing that every other week. You know what I mean? And it's nothing really. It was an issue about it. It's because it's Saka, and it's because we didn't win the game. He done it against Rashford when Rashford goes up to the crowd and going like that. But because we win the game, nothing's said. I don't really want to make too much on those sort of things. Listen. I felt that maybe we got drawn into a little bit of that sort of stuff on the day. I felt that we didn't handle the situation probably well. At times, we didn't the game management evolved. But listen, goal celebrations and all that, what I don't like about it is it's too friendly. You know what I mean? It's a North London derby.
That's what I'm saying.
There was one time Saka got bad injury and Maddison's trying to pull him up and all that, you know what I mean? No, that's wrong. You know what I mean? Go away, don't be touching our players. We allowed that to happen. A year ago with Xhaka, that would never have happened. All those little things, and I felt we was a little bit too nicey at times. Whether that was something that they planned to try and do, I don't know, because I thought it was clever a couple of times. But there was, I noticed on the TV conversations between players when players were down and things like that. That sort of thing I don't like. When it comes to a North London derby, it's should be a lot fiercer than that. And I felt that on this game was the worst we played on a North London derby for a very, very long time. Very
Yeah.
long time.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right, Michael.
Even when we played well, even when Spurs have been the better team, we've our games to a level they couldn't contain with. That was the first time I felt let down by Arsenal in a North London derby,
and it's the best they've played in a long time in a North London derby at ours. There's no doubt about that. Michael, and I'm not having a pop at Saka's another one. Listen, stop mollycoddling him. I want to wrap him up in cotton wool and keep him safe on my windowsill from injury. But don't mollycoddle him. Stop with the unicorns. He's a man now. Start calling him star man, not star boy. You know, he wants to be one of the best players in the world. He wants to be world class. He needs to take criticism as well. And I'm not going to sit here and be afraid to criticize Saka if I want to. I love him. But if I'm going to comment about him, I will. Geez, I don't know what's happening tonight. There might be something in the air in Cyprus. It's probably too hot. Michael, let's talk about our injuries, okay? Yeah. Because everyone in chat is screaming about that. What is going on with our injuries? Tom Canton says it's not the training facilities. It's the best. It's beautiful. I've seen it with my own eyes. It can't be that. Is it the training? Is it the intensity? Declan Rice never injured at West Ham, injured. Jurriën Timber early injured at Ajax, injured. Trossard goes out with the hammy. Martinelli goes out. Talk to me.
First of all, I don't think you can. So most of the injuries that we're experiencing outside of Partey and Jurriën Timber are soft tissue injuries. So I don't think you have to be very careful about how you lump them. And Timbers was just a freak of nature. I mean, that's a tackle gone awry. That's not any training. That has nothing to do. Just it's a freak of nature the way that went down, and it's sad because he was so solid. But overall, my personal opinion is, yeah, Arsenal didn't play that many games last year, but the players are still playing more games today than they've ever played. You know, Kevin, I don't know how many you kind of would be able to talk about, but the load on players today without rest from club to internationals is just insane. I mean, the fact that we're talking about that they literally only get them. There's a reason why U.S. sports have almost a 6-month period between season to season. It's to allow the body to recover, right? We're not allowing the players to recover soon. A month. And it's not even really a month. It's maybe 3 weeks from end of season to preseason. So the load on their body never really gets to happen. So you're running a risk. It's one of the reasons why they now all wear those bras that collect the data on the load that their body takes in, right? I went to go see my son play. Every player, they're in white. It's raining down, so I can see every player has a vest on to help measure the load on their body, and that load is calculated for their minutes. We're putting too much pressure on these players. The players are talking about it. The women's team, they're getting into that same realm too. They're now not getting any rest. Football is now a year-round sport without any breaks, and it's taking its toll. And look, we're hyper-focused in on Arsenal, but Chelsea have 12 players out. The level of players that are dropping and the severity of the injuries that we're seeing, these are now becoming a significant issue. And unfortunately, with all the money in the game, I don't see any quick solution to it at all.
Super Kev, what's your take on this in terms of the injuries and kind of the frequency of them for us? And I know you and I have talked a lot about last season, the end of last season and the previous season. You know, we lost Partey, Tierney and Tomiyasu in that run up to getting into the Champions League. Last season, we lost Thomas Partey again, a couple of other players. What's your take? And just when we started the season, we felt like we had a lot of depth, and it just seems a little scary. It does seem like Rice and Martinelli are going to be back for the City game. But what's your take on it?
Again, we do have depth, but 6 injuries to probably 5 starters. Yeah. That will decimate any squad. You know, you even take five starters out of Manchester City, they'll still be decimated. They're still having to bring players into that squad who maybe wouldn't even get a look in. So I think it's just a difficult time for us right now. We've got to patch people up, and we've got to use the squad. This is what the big squad is for, isn't it? Now, your Emil Smith-Rowe, who people think he's been hard done by, there's going to be an opportunity for you, Emil. Go in there and take it, young man. We know he's good enough. This is the type of headache we want the manager to have. Emil Smith-Rowe in the team, buzzing. You know, there's other players there who, Lee mentioned Jorginho. Jorginho playing week in, week out. We know what a quality player he is. Made a mistake at the weekend. But can he play? Yes, he can. He's a fantastic player, experienced player. These players might just get the opportunity to step in, and we've got to support these guys, because we don't know how long some of these injuries might be. It might be a couple of weeks. It might be more. So what we have to do is we've got to back the guys we got.
Right,
Simple.
Lee. Thanks, Super Kev. Listen, there's 600 of you in live chat. Hit that like button. We'll bring Vinny out for the first time. Give Lee a little tap there. Give him a little smack on the head there, Vinny.
On his shoulder. Yeah,
absolutely.
Shoulder.
And, you know, I'm going to have Kev Bruck your next tonight, because some of you are really pissing me off, but that's okay. That's why we're a family. Super Kev says that all the time. And seeing as we're having a goalkeeper issue, is little Vesper with a save of the day, all right? So don't say we don't treat you nice here. Lee, let's talk about the elephant in the room. What are we... Look, we could talk about how we lost. We could talk about what we did wrong. I think everyone knows all of these things. We played poorly. We gave away cheap goals. We didn't take our chances. The manager made some mistakes. The substitutions were dubious. Let's talk about the elephant in the $65 million room. What are you going to do with Kai Havertz, Lee?
I think you've got to persevere. I'll play him against Brentford at the week on Wednesday. I'd give him a go, and just hope that it just tries to work. I watched him on Sunday. I didn't think he was awful. What everybody's saying, we're just expecting a little bit more out of him. That's the case scenario at the moment. There was one time when he got the ball in the second half and the edge of the box, and he got pushed over like a little baby, and you think, oh, come on, Kai, you know what I mean? Like, be a little bit more. But there was times when he made tackles in there and broke up things and all that. But what the trouble with Kai at the moment, he's just doing okay, and it's not good enough. You know what I mean? We need more than okay. And I felt at the end of it, you know, listen, at half time, we're 1-1. I'm thinking, right, we're come out second half and we're blitzing. And as I'm getting to my seat, my mates turned around and said, Havertz and Jorginho are on, Vieira and Rice are injured. Oh, God, oh no, like, you know what I mean? But fair play to them, even though we made mistakes and all that. We drew the game 1-1 in the second half as well. So we didn't lose. As great as, and this is the other thing I have to say, that as great as their midfield was, and as great as their players played, and as great as they done, as piss poor as we were, as piss poor as the manager's decisions and whatever, we did not lose the game. It feels like a loss, but we didn't lose. That was the worst, as I said earlier on, worst I've seen Arsenal play for a very, very long while, but we still didn't lose. I've seen us play a lot better in the past and lose. So I take that on board. And Kai Havertz was part of that. I don't know what he's going to do about the Kai Havertz thing, because what it is putting pressure on him week in, week out. What you got to do is, and I don't want to go back to the Aaron Ramsdale thing, but you're giving this guy chance after chance after chance. He has to start delivering this. It's 7 games in now. He has got to start delivering, because it's now becoming, as you say, a little bit of a problem. And with Mikel, you know, as much as I'll criticise Mikel, if you want to tell me now, you know what I mean, I went to a charity game on Saturday with a few like Spurs people and everything like that, and they're hammering him like, oh, wouldn't you wish you... Hold on a minute, he's my manager, I like him and I will back him. Even though he's made mistakes, he's still, for me, the right man for Arsenal. I'll still put him above a lot of other managers, including the Aussie down the road. You know what I mean? I will say that at this moment in time. But
all right, mate.
But he has got to get some sort of tune out of Havertz. If he doesn't, he will become under pressure. This is the one that will, I think, be leading to a breakdown with Arsenal. And one thing I will say, and I don't know if you noticed it on Sunday, whenever Mikel's tried to get the crowd up, they've all gone mad. They've all gone for it. He done it on Sunday, and he didn't get the response that he wanted from it, So I think that was a little bit to the way we was playing, whatever, This is the problem. He's got to deliver it. It's like when we talk about the John Lukic and David Seaman thing, you know what I mean? David Seaman come in, nailed it. So everybody then turns around, don't really turn around and say, oh, well, well done, David Seaman. What do they turn around and say? Oh, George Graham, masterclass. You know what I mean? Masterclass. Got rid of Charlie Nicholas. He brought in Perry Groves for a little while and then brings in Paul Merson. Masterclass. You know what I mean? By the way, George Graham, one of Paul Merson's favourites. But at the end of the day, delivered. You know what I mean? So that is the problem he's got now. Whether Havertz is a favourite or not, he must be a postman and deliver.
610 of you in live chat, including a fair few Spurs fans this evening. Welcome. We will be presenting our trophy cabinet a little later on in the show. So if you want to stick around for that, it is quite the spectacle. In fact, we're so busy, we have to have a subscription for polishing our trophies every single year. Michael, what are you going to do with Kai Havertz? All I hear about is he an 8? Is he a 6? He's been played out of position. What say you about Havertz?
I do like how Arteta's maybe switching up how he's handling him, putting him on as a sub. So there's, to kind of look, and I think Rice, if you watch a lot of the interviews with Rice is talking about the amount of information that Arteta imparts upon his players in terms of the training and what he's looking for from them. And I think, and every player, and I think, Kevin, I'd be interested to hear your thought on this, but every player handles this differently. And what makes a good manager is how you handle those players that are not taking to it like fish to water. I would prefer to see Havertz up top more often than in the midfield. I think his running, the movement he makes off the ball, would be helpful. I would have been okay yesterday with playing Havertz up top and Jesus out on the wing, because I think the way Havertz makes runs into the box and Jesus coming back into play to get the ball, I think that would have been a better use of Havertz yesterday. But that's just, but I think you have to persist. And I think, look, last year, everybody was saying Vieira is not ready for this team. Now everybody is crying out for Vieira to play because there was I'm not after yesterday. He was completely mismatched for that match yesterday. But you have to have patience with players. Some players, like Timber, get the system right away. They take to it. Others need time. And, unfortunately, we're now at a place now where we want more from our team. So maybe we don't have the patience for time. But I think you have to play. And look, I'm not convinced that the player that Havertz was at my favorite German club, Bayer Leverkusen, is not still there. It's just going to need time to get rid of all that Chelsea mud and dirt and grime off of him.
Super Kev and I actually a few weeks ago were talking about how we kind of like Vieira being a super sub and that he could come on and really affect the game, and we've seen that a little bit this season. Kev, I really wanted to get your take as well on the form at home. You played in teams where we were dominant at home. We started talking about last season that we've got that intimidation effect back, when you're in the tunnel, and a lot of teams kind of fear what they're going to face. What's happening to us at home, Kev?
I think we're getting there on one hand. We're a big side, physical side, but one thing we cannot do, Sophie, Lee, Mike, You can't give away cheap goals.
Mhm.
And we keep giving away cheap goals. Again, this is a bit of transition from after a virtually a perfect performance against PSV midweek.
Yeah.
Back in the Champions League, we wipe the floor with them. We keep a clean sheet and we look dominant. To the transition now, we've got a North London derby and we've got to try and do it effortlessly. We didn't quite do it effortlessly. Probably still could have won the game. Spurs played very well, I must say. And they pegged us back. Every time we got our nose in front, they pegged us back. The second one was probably the hardest to take because it was right after we scored the penalty and took the lead, and they scored straight away. But if you look at the goals we concede, it's not necessarily. It's good play from the opposition, but do you know what? It's poor play from us. It's poor defending. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to dig individuals out, but as a defense, if you're conceding goals like that, it's not good enough. And Mike, you can speak about Raya. Raya had no chance, especially with that second. He had no chance with the first one, and he definitely had no chance with the second one because he's played Son in, and Son could pick his spot. You said he had set his feet. I mean, the ball's rolling across. You've got to, because the ball's rolling across, you can't sit. You've got to move. You've got to move with the ball.
No. In that scenario, you're right. It favors the shooter, but he still doesn't have his feet underneath him, which gives him. And if you look, he goes out a little bit. He's not set, and I think that. But look, I'm
as a striker, Mike. As a striker, if the ball's rolling across, you cannot just stay there as a goalkeeper. You've got to move. If the ball's going to that side, you've got to move where the ball is. And he sticks it past him. Look, I don't blame Raya for either goal. The first goal, for me, Saka needs some help. Saka needs help. Maddison gets away from him, and he gets to the byline, and there's three defenders there. Nobody comes out to crash the ball.
Yeah, but he got skinned as well, Kev. I mean,
no, Sophie, hold on, Sophie.
It ricocheted off of him.
He's a winger.
Okay, I get it. Yes, I get that.
But my point is, there's three defenders there, and when Maddison comes out with the ball, somebody's got to be coming towards him because we outnumber them. There's only two Spurs players in the box, Maddison and Son, and there's four defenders. We've got to be able to crash the ball. Same thing happened with Rashford, where Rashford, you know what he's going to do, but yet we let him come inside on our right foot. But this is something that we have to get right. We have to get this right. The second goal, we know what the problem was. You lose the ball there, you're dead.
Yeah, you got it.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Against a good side, you're dead, and they're a good side. They are a good side. And with those two players, you're going to get punished. So we didn't deserve to win that game.
Kev,
we had the chances to win.
Can I ask you a question?
You may, Mr. Judges.
Kai Havertz. Go back into Kai Havertz. What is it like in the dressing room when you know that a player's not he's not doing it? What do you do as because I know in times the teams can be a little bit in the dressing room can be a little bit brutal. What would they be doing? What did it happen in your time, and what would you be doing in that situation?
Lee, the thing is that a lot of the issue is match day, because you see what he can do in training a lot of the time. You see how good he is in training. And remember, you're a squad, so whoever gets picked, you back whoever is playing. So I thought Kai Havertz done all right when he came on yesterday. He had one shot that he shot over the bar, but apart from that, he was winning balls in the air, he grafted, he was getting the ball, we had some nice touches on the ball. But I understand, Lee, Arsenal fans are thinking for 65 million, you've got to be doing X, Y, Z. And that, we hope that will come, because at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't just work automatically. Fabio Vieira, it didn't work automatically. Kai Havertz, at the moment, it's not working automatically. I get it. But you know what? As an attacking force, we have not been anywhere near ourselves. We look a little bit more near ourselves against PSV, but as an attacking force, this season, 7 games in, we have not looked as fluid as we would like. That's for sure.
Totally agree with that.
If Kai Havertz isn't the type of player who's going to do it on his own. He's going to rely on other people to create, and then he's going to get on the end of it. Unfortunately, Lee, we just haven't been there as a team, as an attacking force. So it's going to take a bit more time. It is.
Lee and Mike, do you have to bounce? Lee,
I do.
Mike.
I'm not on till 9:15. So
okay,
right.
great.
Yeah.
So, Mike, thanks. Mike, a final quick word from you before you go. I know you've got to get back to work.
Yeah, I've got to get back to real life, unfortunately. If they could find a way to make me do this more than not, I would. But look, I agree with Kevin. I think, look, there are things that I will nitpick about this, but in the overall scheme of things, I still think we still haven't lost a game. We're not playing at our best potential, and I think it's going to settle at some point. I think we'll be fine. We can sit here and nitpick about the issues, but we haven't been played up to our potential. And the minute this team plays to its potential, I think it's going to start cutting through teams. And I think the other thing we have to deal with is we have to deal with teams realizing who we are now. And so I'm still bullish on this team. I still think we're going to do quite well in the league. And it's all going to let me put it this way. If we play Man City in 2 weeks' time and we win that game, nobody is going to remember what happened against Tottenham, because we have, you know what? And Dean said this the best on Twitter. We played poor. We understand our floor. They're celebrating a draw, and that's their ceiling, right? So,
they're celebrating in this chat room. It's insane.
I know.
There's going to be a DVD party in a minute.
Yes,
but Mike, thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk again in a few
Mike.
days.
Sure,
Take
I'll
care.
see everybody in a few days.
Yeah, take care,
Cheers.
Mike. Brilliant
Bye-bye.
stuff. I wanted to ask you guys about this question because it came up for me when I was doing the BBC Radio London thing. And Mikel Arteta said that after the second goal, Lee, that our players were too emotional. Is that the pot calling the kettle black? Kev, come on, man. What was that about? That comment.
After our second goal, do me a favour, for God's sake. Jesus.
He said that we were too emotional, and here's a man who stands on the sideline with a lot of emotion. And I brought this up to you last season, Kev, and we had a bit of a tete-a-tete about it because in particular, obviously, when he did that at Liverpool, it did come back to bite us in the butt. I don't mind him doing that and bossing it on the sideline, Lee, when we're at home. But when we have the youngest team and there needs to be some calm, do you think that's an issue?
Do you know what? It's a great point because I do think there is something in that, because if you remember last season when we was winning games, right, we'd score a goal and there would be Granit Xhaka calming everybody down, even in the huddle. Do you know what I mean? Do you remember those times giving people a little chat, right, do this and do that? We haven't got that no more. So I don't know if somebody else is doing and all that, like, you know. Listen, I know this is where Mikel goes a bit weird for me at times, like, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't nothing to do with emotion. It was to do with a player, an experienced player, making a mistake. That's what it was to do with, you know what I mean? Like, because you can't include the other 10 players in it because they weren't involved in it. You know, and the ball went to him. I don't know really what he was trying to do, and he got caught out. You know what I mean? Like, the other side of it is that Maddison done exactly the same in the first half, and he didn't get punished. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we do. We don't punish other teams. I think Spurs had 3 shots in the game. I said it the other day. And you've got to give them credit for that. 2 they scored, and one was a wonderful save. They didn't miss any sitters. You know, Arsenal had a couple of much better opportunities and all that. Like, so this is where, you know, I think at the end of the day, sometimes managers say things to just deflect other issues and whatever, like, you know what I mean? Listen, we didn't play well. It's not the end of the world. I see like Real Madrid are the best team in since sliced bread and that. They went and played Atletico Madrid and lost. You know what I mean? Like, derby games are a little bit different, and listen. I don't like it when people turn around and say, "Oh, Spurs Cup final" and all that lot, because it was a few years ago that we were better than they were better than us, and we still done the job over them. Do you remember when they was like with Pochettino? They were a much better team at the time. They still kept coming to the Emirates and still kept getting beat. Why? Because we was up for it and everything like that. Like, you know, I just feel on this game that there was a little bit more pressure on Arsenal than there was on Tottenham. Tottenham, like, you know, everything's going their way at the moment. We needed to put in a performance. We ain't been playing that well. We've been a bit bitty. And I think that was maybe the emotions of that got to us a little bit, like, you know, because we needed the pressure probably got to us a little bit more. I thought that they was more relaxed and all that. Like, I'll tell you what, I think that I'll give Spurs a little bit of credit as well, like, you know, the manager. I don't know if you see that. They done their little huddle right over by the Spurs fans and then made us wait a little bit. Like, it's all psychological little stuff going on and all that, like, you know, and you give them credit, and maybe we just fell into the trap a little bit. Maybe that's what he's saying about the emotional side of it. I don't know, like, but listen, I love Mikel on the line. I'm going to say this now. I want my manager being like that, because if I look around and I see him being emotional and aggressive, that makes me feel the same. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there are times you've got to be calm and all that, like, but I'd rather be like seeing my manager doing that than sitting on the line, sitting there like that. That's in my opinion. You know, I keep doing it, Mikel. Like, there was a time, I think, when Saka got really badly fouled. He's up there, he's giving it. Like, I love all that. That's what I like about Mikel. And you know what? Other clubs don't like it. Sod them.
Too bad.
It's not their problem.
Yeah, I don't mind it at home, as I said, but I also want him to pick and choose. And here's a nice
Soph, that's the
Tottenham
problem,
fan.
Soph. That's the problem. Why do you want it at home and not away? Why should he change? Why should he change away from home?
I'm not saying he should change. I'm saying he should tone it down a little
Why?
bit at certain steps. Because
But that's
I think
my point. Why?
because I think it shifts. I think it shifts gears. I think it ignites crowds. I think it galvanizes teams. I think it's like a 12th man syndrome. That's all. That's just my humble opinion when we're playing away from home. Super Kev, here's a nice Tottenham fan. Holly's in the house. Holly and Albert do some great shows together, especially on women's football. Go give our friend Albert JTV a subscription. And also, listen, there are over 600 of you in live chat, and Chief Like Officer Tammy would like to know how many likes there are, because it seems like some of you have got broken fingers this evening. If every single person hit the like button, you know what it would look like, right? So here we go. And I love this. Sophie telling others not to be over emotional. Listen, I'm not the manager of Arsenal Football Club. And I love that Mikel's so emotional, because he gave me permission to actually still be myself and be overly emotional on this show. Sometimes, tonight being the case. So if it works for Mikel, it works for me as well. What haven't I asked you guys about the game, Kev, against Tottenham, that you think it's important that we talk about?
Does anybody get any credit?
That's a good one.
Because
Does Gabriel get credit, Kev?
and Saliba?
Yeah.
You know, does anybody get any credit? Because even when you don't play well necessarily, we still should have won the game. And I remember texting you before the game, Soph, and saying I want us to be ruthless.
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna sort Spurs out, we needed to be ruthless, and we weren't ruthless. We go 2-0 up, the game's over. The problem is we couldn't get away from them, you know, and that's partly our fault. and partly good play by them. So, you know, it's one of them. I think some credit should go around for Saliba, for Gabriel. I thought Zinchenko done fine.
Oof.
I thought he did.
Really?
I thought he did. Yes, I did. I thought he done fine. But again, we are not the attacking force of last season. We still are not quite there yet. So,
We're also not we're not the same defense, are we, Lee, that we were last season so far?
No, well, you know what I mean. Listen, we are away from home. We played 2 away games, kept 2 clean sheets. It's different when we're at home. This problem with the home has been going on for nearly 2 years now. Like, you know what I mean, and we've not addressed it. And I'm going to be really honest. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, what I will say is that I imagine that if I'm Arteta, and I'll be going mad at that first goal, because with all the things that he done wrong in the game, and whatever you can talk about that, the players have still got to do their jobs. The ball comes off of Maddison there. They actually think the ball's going out, right? And they stop, apart from Song, who doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, we all switch off and we can see the goal. Criminal, like, you know, they get in. We're actually dominating the game, and they get in behind us with one pass, one cross, and Raya has to make an unbelievable save. It's not that they've opened us up easy; it's just concentration levels again. Then we make the mistake. I know that, and I've not really had a look at it because it pains me to watch the game for some reason. But I know I've seen the Jorginho thing, but when he loses it, there's no defenders near him. Well, I don't know what.
No, the gap. It was like the Grand Canyon, Lee.
No, Lee, the problem is the problem is because Arsenal fan out.
Yeah, exactly. So they fanned out.
To create space.
He's lost it.
And because you got to remember, as soon as Jorginho got the ball, you had one deeper.
Yeah, and one going.
One pushes out to the right, which should have been his first pass. The problem is he got his feet all in a muddle. And then when they come and nick the ball off him,
it's all gone.
It's 2v1.
So that may be the problem. Got the legs to get back. No, he never had the legs to get back, did he? Like, you know? He's still running now. I think he's still, if he's chasing Strong now, he still ain't catching him. Like, I mean,
that
may be the problem, Soph. That may be the problem, that we're too open at home. But so what I'll say to that is, right, we're too far open. We are open. It makes it entertaining. Cut out the mistakes, and maybe we win that game 2-1 and other games 2-1 and whatever. Like, you know, even there was mistakes against Fulham. But listen, because we made those mistakes against Fulham, it's a lot harder when you make them against Tottenham, and that is the problem. Like, you know, but I think that's something that we've got to address. We've got to address that.
Yeah, we do, definitely.
Lee, it's basics.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about that first.
Which is shocking at this stage we're at, Kev.
But let me tell you something about that first goal. When you see Saka and Maddison tussling, your first instincts as a defender is, I've got to go and help him out.
Well, you fall back, guys, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to go and help him out, because if he gets beat, because the gap between Saka and those in the box was like 20 yards, 10 yards, something like that. It was huge. If somebody had just popped out, Maddison wouldn't get the cross. And we say all the time, you've got to stop it at source.
Yeah.
If you stop the ball actually coming in, Son can't score. Do you know what I mean? He can't score.
I'm with you on that. I thought Ben White had a poor game.
And for the Man United one as well, I thought the defence, Ben White and Saliba,
let him come inside.
Allowed him to come inside. So there's a problem with communication in that back four, and I don't know whether they work at it or not. But you know what? If you're Mikel, you've got to get on that training ground and you've got to put it right, because these things are fixable.
Yeah,
I
agree. I totally agree. I felt that first goal, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what. When I was coaching, I would have done my nuts at that night. You know what I mean? That is at the top level. That's happened. You know what I mean? One for switching off. One for switching off. To, thinking it's going to go out. You play to the whistle or play whatever. Secondly, like, you know, no commitment. You're all right there, Kevin. There was no desire to go and help Saka out and defend. You know what I mean? And we've got, but when we're away, guys, there is that desire.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you know what, Lee? The desire's there because as a back three, back four, you can sit in a bit more because the onus isn't on you. The onus is on the opposition to come.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you see what happened to Everton. Arsenal kept the ball, and then when Everton came to press, Arsenal played through them. Ben White then could go and join in, etc. And then once it breaks down, he gets back into position, and we're solid again. At home, I think we're a bit freer, but I think we lose that. I call it the nasty edge, and that ain't about kicking people or anything like that. That's about doing your jobs to the best of your ability. Saka's in trouble. I'm gonna go and help him.
Yeah.
Not leaving Saka on the island alone against Maddison, who gets the better of him, and then he's gonna stick a ball in your box for Son to score. No, who's gonna help him? So that's the type of nasty mentality, that tough mentality. We're not going to get beat. And that's what, you see Man City have it. And that's what we need.
They look frightening.
They showed that on Saturday, didn't they?
They look frightening. Listen, guys, before we go, and I know, Lee, you got to go, but I really wanted to get this in because were you guys surprised? And I know you guys have sent in a ton of questions. We're focused on the conversation. I've been putting all of your stuff up on screen. We're going to do a Q&A at some point. So hold on to some of those questions in the coming days. Were you guys surprised by the stats, the possession in particular, the number of passes, Spurs superior in both categories? Did that shock you, Lee? Because at home especially?
Not really, because Spurs had a lot of possession in areas that didn't hurt us. They was playing across the midfield, through the back and everything like that. They played it in areas that this stats thing ain't all that it's cracked up to be like. You know what I mean? Like watch it on the eye. Like you know what I mean? We was more of a pressing in their half and all that. Like, but listen, that's the way that they played, and they had a control of the ball, like we did a bit at Everton when we weren't really causing any problems. You know what I mean? This is why I always say when you say like Saliba gets like a pass rating of 96%. You know what I mean? Like half of his balls are to Gabriel. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is. So Spurs. Listen, for me, I've got to say Spurs. I'm not afraid to admit it. Give them credit.
They played better.
They played well on the day and deserved their point, and maybe at the end of it could have got free. The way they played, I have to say, I was impressed with them. Like their midfield, they dominated. But I tell you what, they didn't dominate them and also they dominated a little bit more in the second half because their midfield completely changed. They was up against Jorginho and Kai Havertz, where in the first half we had Declan Rice in there and it was a lot evener. But that's how it is, you know what I mean? I have to say, it didn't surprise me. I thought it was a very, very even game, guys. I have to say that.
Listen, they celebrated like they won the Champions League, the FA Cup. All of the Spurs fans in chat this evening, Gaz Spurs especially, chuckling. It's been fun having you all here. Please do come back when you lose to Liverpool. We'd love to hear from you. And don't be strangers, and we won't either. Actually, Kevin, I really enjoyed being on Chris Cowlin's show. I know you were on too, Lee. He's a top shelf boy. Is Chris?
They're good guys,
and it's all good banter, you guys. It's all good banter,
and that's how it should be. I love the Arsenal Spurs game. I've got my mate Danny that I haven't heard for since Spurs beat us 3-0, and he's on the phone to me today. Like I've not answered. I love the banner.
Give him a miss, Lee. Give him a miss.
I'm giving him a swerve, Kev. I'm giving him a swerve.
Do it. I had to watch the game in a Spurs household with two Spurs fans, my Man United supporting dad, my Stoke City supporting mum, and my Manchester United supporting sister. It was absolutely brutal. And my parents didn't even have my back. My parents didn't even have my back. They were rooting for Tottenham. I'm like, what is this about? So it was really brutal day for me yesterday.
I told you so. We're the Arsenal. We all got to stick together because everyone's against us.
And listen, I love it. We're back, innit? Like all Man United fans want Spurs to win. Like we're back. We're back.
We're definitely back. All right. It's been brilliant, Lee. Thanks so much. After this,
always a pleasure.
Where are you going? Where's Same Old Gooners tonight? What
It's
channels?
Lee Judges TV.
Okay.
I think we've got Tom Canton on today, so that'll be a blast.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to tune in after, because if it's anything like the WhatsApp group we have, then everyone's in for a treat.
I'm going to give it to you. You know what I mean? I believe, because he's interviewed Mikel a few times, that he feels that he's his son now or his dad or whatever. I don't know.
That's brilliant. That is really brilliant. And I would like to give credit to, you're right, Tammy Steels, Chief Like Officer. The Tottenham fans who've been in the chat tonight have been very respectful. It's been good to have you here. I joke, but thanks for joining us. Yeah,
good luck to them.
Good for them. Good luck to you. And it's really hard to hate Ange, and we absolutely hate that. Super Kev, why don't you take us out? Remember, guys, look out on Twitter. I can't call it X. I refuse to call it X. As well. But let me tell you something, and I know Kev doesn't want me to talk about this, but I'm going to anyway.
No, don't do it, Soph.
I've got to do it. Oh, I didn't put the picture up, so you're lucky. I'll tell him on Twitter and stuff. But Super Kev's been nominated for a Football Content Award for his work on the Highbury Squad. Woo!
See that today, Kev. Congratulations. Well done.
Okay.
Lee,
go on then.
No, listen.
Let me take this out.
Hold on. So I'm going to say this. The man deserves it, because he backs a lot of channels.
Listen, I don't do
he
it
does
for
it for
no
the fans.
or anything.
He deserves it. Go vote for Kevin Campbell, please.
I do it.
End of.
Judges, I do it because I want to give things back.
I know you do, but you should be appreciated for doing that. And that's
so
it. You know?
That's it. Anyway.
Up yours. Vote for Kevin Campbell.
Anyway, squaddies, thanks to Lee Judges. Go and join him after on the same old. What is it? The same old
Gooners on Lee Judges TV.
Same old Gooners on Lee Judges TV. Love to the irrepressible Sophie, hostess with the mostest. Thanks all you Gooners. Listen, I know you Spurs in as well, because you know what? It takes two teams to tango. All the very best. Tell your loved ones you love them. Take good care. And at ease, squaddies. At ease.
Did it work?
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.